Haribol. Today is Monday, July 28th, 2025. And today is the disappearance day of Raghunandan Das Thakur, the son of Mukunda Shekhar. And his place in Navadvip, but he was the incarnation of Pradyumna in the Chatuvyuha, the Chatuvyuha, the Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So Raghunandan is that Pradyumna. And many beautiful pastimes surrounding him, especially when he was a young boy and his father asked him to do the offering. And because his father was the royal physician and had to go for his services. So he didn't have time to do the offering to the Gopinath, Madan Mohan. So he asked his son to do that. And then his son took in the offering, the bhoga, and he was seeing that Madan Mohan's not taking, so he started to cry and became very anxious. You know, my mother has made this bhoga for you and you're not taking. And he became unhappy. So much so that Thakurji came off the altar and took all of the bhoga. So when Raghunandan, little Raghunandan, came out of the temple room, his mother asked him, well, where's the prasad? And he said, oh, Madan Mohan, he ate everything. And she was shocked. She had never had this experience before. She told her husband when he came home. And her husband, Mukunda, he asked also his son what happened. And he told again, Thakurji ate everything. So the next day, Mukunda said, I have to go again to the work, you please offer again. And this time he hid behind a curtain in the altar room. And when his son was offering again, Raghunandan was offering again, then Madan Mohan knew that his father was hiding, of course, so he was very hesitant to come out. So then, finally, on the insistence of Raghunandan, on his faith, he came out from behind the curtain. He came out from his altar and started to take the bhoga. And then Mukunda, he immediately came out from behind the curtain and revealed himself. And Madan Mohan froze, and he had a half laddu in his hand. And if you go today, you can see that at Shrikant, that place is at Shrikant, where Narahari is the brother, the uncle of Raghunandan, where their household was. You can see that same deity. So Raghunandan has many beautiful pastimes describing him, but you can read them all later online. As I've said previously, I'm not going to make extensive descriptions of the different personalities on their appearance and disappearance days. I just want to maximize our time for this Caitanya Caritamrta study. And it's also the Tirabab of Vamsidas Babaji, who was a total avadut and was a great lover of the Lord. He had two sets of deities. He had Gaunitai and he had Radha and Krishna. He had two cloth bags he would carry with both of these personalities on him. And he had no fixed abode. He would sleep. And his Guru Maharaj is Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, who was of a similar nature, completely like avadut, totally callous to the material world, completely. So much so that he wanted to keep people away from him, because people would come and want his kripa. Sometimes he would put fish bones around the place where he was staying. He would generally stay under a vat tree, those big like banyan trees, because it would remind him of Vamsivat in Vrindavan. So he would stay under a tree in many, many places under a Vamsivat tree. And he would sometimes smoke a hookah. He would have a hookah there to try and discourage people from bothering him. So Vamsi Das Babaji, great lover of the Lord. Only if you have this type of faith and nishta, and you see the Lord so clearly and strongly, can you act in that capacity and remain fully satisfied. So Vamsi Das Babaji, we remember today, and we remember Raghunandan Das for his glorious preaching work also, and his great activities. We remember today, but we'll post something on our WhatsApp thread about both of these personalities. So Raghunandan Thakur Ki Jai and Vamsi Das Babaji Ki Jai. So now we'll begin our our Caitanya Caritamrta study. Om Aginaatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Swarupe, Daita Swarupe, Prema Swarupe, Sahajipi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Papueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatamba Sadapita Sada Hridare Kandare Spudatu Vasachinandanaha Yam pravajantamanapetyamapeti krityam dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava putreti tam matayo taravo vinidustam sarvabhutam hridim mudimanatoshmi bhaktya vihina aparada lakshan shiptascha karmadi tarangamadye kripa maitvam sharanam prapada brinde namaste charanara vindam Pajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katirna Kapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Adi-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishiman Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto our most beloved Adi-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishiman Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, my Dandavat Pranams unto our dearmost Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and unto all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees to the Lord, my Dandavat Pranams to all of you. So now we're coming almost to the end of this 7th chapter. This 7th chapter has been a very long chapter because of the length of commentaries and purports by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because it's such an important topic of purifying this Mayavad conception. So there are different degrees of Mayavad. But basically, fundamentally, if we desire to take the place of Krishna as being the supreme enjoyer in this world, we can be called Mayavads. But the Mayavads that Mahaprabhu is preaching to at this point, are those Mayavads who are dedicated and focused to mukti, to becoming liberated from this material world. And they are not acknowledging the Supreme Person, so they've taken the Vedanta Sutra according to the Sankaracharya teachings, which is completely impersonal. It's described as being covered Buddhism. So this is the place where we're up to now. And Mahaprabhu has been preaching very beautifully the different sutras of the Vedanta Sutra to the Mayavadi sannyasis. They become submissive to him because he demonstrated his immense aura when he first came into their assembly. And then they made a very sweet connection of full respect with Mahaprabhu. And then they've requested Mahaprabhu to speak on these principles of Vedanta Sutra. So this is what he's doing. And then the Mayavadi sannyasis are about to start questioning Mahaprabhu more deliberately on these topics that he's described. So these are very ecstatic topics, actually, because they carry us closer into the warm embrace of the Supreme Lord in his most personal form. This is where all of these teachings are guiding us and leading us to. So now today we're up to text 133. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Emate Pratisutra Sahajata Chadaya Gunartha Vikyare Kare Kalpana Kariya. Translation. To prove their philosophy, the members of the Mayavad school have given up the real, easily understood meaning of the Vedic literature and introduced indirect meanings based on their imaginative powers. Purport. Unfortunately, the Sankarite interpretation has covered almost the entire world. Because, as I said just now, they're not all direct Sankaracharya followers. The Mayavadis, they're all different degrees of Mayavadis, but in principle, it's if one accepts these material objects for my pleasure, this is usurping the potency and supremacy of the Lord. As a bhakta, following the devotional precepts, I'm always trying to please and satisfy the Lord. This is my nature. What's that? Krishna Prem? What's that? Krishna Prem? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Sadhu. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Satya Kabunai. Shravanadi. Sudachita Korya Udai. So this is a natural propensity of the heart, but it gets covered by the material attraction that we've developed in many, many, many lifetimes. Brahman, Brahmite, Konya, Bhagavan, Jiva, Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasad Boy, Nitya, Bhakti Lata, Bij. Brahman, Brahmite, Konya, Bhagavan, Jiva. We've been wandering, unlimited Brahmans, seeking this pleasure in unlimited lifetimes, not knowing the direction of devotion. But by the mercy of Guru, then we can connect, Sadguru, then we can connect with that Supreme Person in our natural relationship, in our personal relationship, as a servant of the Lord. Jivara Sarupoi, Krishnara Nityadas. So purport, unfortunately, the Sankarite interpretation has covered almost the entire world. Therefore, there is a great need to present the original, easily understood natural import of the Vedic literature. We have therefore begun presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we propose to present all the Vedic literatures in terms of the direct meaning of their words. So, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying like this. Text 134. E mata prati sutra korene dushana sunik chamatkara haile sanyasera gana. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thus showed for each and every sutra the defects in Sankaracharya's explanations, all the assembled Mayavadi sannyasis were struck with wonder. Text 135. Sakala sannyase kahe sunaha sripada tumiye kandile artha enahe vivarda. Translation. All the Mayavadi sannyasis said, Your Holiness, kindly know from us that we actually have no quarrel with your refutation of these meanings. for you have given a clear understanding of the sutras. So I'm just going to interrupt our Caitanya Caritamrta for a few minutes to speak from Jaiva Dharma, where we can get an even broader picture of the topic that we're discussing. This topic is so important, and in Jaiva Dharma, chapter 2, the same principles are being discussed very clearly, but in a different language. And very often when we listen to another perspective, the whole picture becomes clear. So I wanted to read this now. We've almost finished this chapter 7, but I wanted to refresh from Jaiva Dharma the same teachings that are being given here by Krishnadas Kaviraj, just to make it more simple for us. So I'm reading from page 18 of Jaiva Dharma, chapter 2, if you have Jaiva Dharma there. So halfway down it's saying, at this point, Sannyasi Thakur with folded hands said, Prabhu, I am constantly witnessing the superior excellence of the spotless Vaishnava Dharma. So these sannyasis are approaching the reality of Vaishnava Dharma, which Sri Sachinandan has revealed. And I have clearly realized the contemptible nature of Sankaracharya's monastic doctrine. Remember this Sannyasi Thakur, he's exactly the same as the Mayavadi sannyasis that we're describing now from Varanasi. He's one of those sannyasis, Sannyasi Thakur, a Brahmagyani, but his heart has been melted by witnessing the ecstasies of a bhakta, of a Vaishnava. Still, something has come to my mind, Sannyasi Thakur is saying, which I feel I must submit to you. I don't want to hide it. I understand that Mahabhav, which was displayed by Sri Chaitanya, is the highest state of concentrated prema. Now this is completely applicable to what we're studying here. Is it different from the attainment of the perfection of the absolute oneness, Advaita Siddhi? This is his question. These Mayavadi sannyasis could have asked exactly the same question of Mahaprabhu. Is this Brahma Gyan we're trying to attain, is it the same as the highest devotional conception, this Advaita Siddhi? Is it the same? So now Paramahamsa Babaji is going to answer. When Paramahamsa Babaji heard the name of Sri Sankaracharya, he offered prostrated obeisances unto the Acharya and said, Respected Sir, Sankara Shankara Shakshat, Sankaracharya is none other than Mahadev Sankar, or Shivji. You should always remember this. Sankar is Guru of the Vaishnavas. So get that, this is what I wanted to read, to get it in context. For this reason, Mahaprabhu has referred to him as Acharya, spiritual preceptor, Sankaracharya. For his own part, Sri Sankara was a perfect Vaishnava. At the time of Sri Sankara's appearance in India, there was a great need for a guna avatar like him, an incarnation who presides over the qualities of material nature. The study of the Vedic Shastras and the practice of the Varnashram Dharma had become practically extinct in India due to the influence of Sunyavad, Buddhism, the nihilistic Buddhist philosophy. So we've described his history previously. Sankaracharya is coming after Lord Buddha, and he's bringing the Vedic teachings back into India. But up until the time of Sankaracharya, those Vedic teachings had been pushed out into Thailand, Vietnam, etc. Buddhist philosopher Sunyavad. Sunyavad is vehemently opposed to the personal conception of Bhagavan, although it partially accepts the principle of the living being's identity as a conscious spirit soul, Jivatma. It is an extreme example of Anitya Dharma, impermanent religion, Anitya Dharma. The Brahmanas of that era had abandoned the Vedic Dharma and had in effect all become Buddhists. So this is the history again. When we get the historical context, many times the topic becomes much more illuminating. At that point, Sankaracharya appeared as an extremely powerful incarnation of Mahadev. He re-established the credibility of the Vedic literatures and converted the Sunyavad doctrine of Voidism into Brahmavad, doctrine of Nirvishesh, featureless Brahm. So we've already said this. Sankaracharya brought the Vedic teachings back into India. This was an extraordinary feat, and India will remain ever indebted to Sri Sankaracharya for this tremendous contribution. So we're seeing it from this perspective just now. All activities in this world fall into one or two categories. Some are relative to a particular period of time, and some are applicable for all time. Some are naimitya, temporary, and some are nitya, permanent. The work of Sankaracharya was relative to a particular period and bestowed tremendous benefit. Sankaracharya laid the foundation upon which great acharyas such as Sri Ramanuja erected the edifice of pure Vaishnava Dharma. He couldn't have done that without the contradiction of Sankaracharya. If Ramanuja had just tried to manifest the personal conception, there would have been no overt opposition, so to speak, because it hadn't manifested. If Sankaracharya had not manifested with his teachings, who would Ramanuja have had to strongly defeat? Understand? Yes. So because Sankaracharya's was so explicit, these four Vakyas, this defeat of the personal aspect and the establishment of voidism, because it came strongly from Sankaracharya, so Ramanuja was strongly able to counteract that. Sankaracharya laid the foundation upon which great acharyas such as Sri Ramanuja erected the edifice of pure Vaishnava Dharma. Consequently, Sankaratara was a great friend and preceptor who pioneered Vaishnava Dharma. He brought it together. Vaishnavas are now reaping the fruit of Sankaracharya's philosophical precepts. For the jivas who are bound by matter, there is a great need for sambandha gyan, knowledge of the soul's entanglement in material nature and of his relationship with Bhagavan. So now we're seeing the pure philosophy manifesting. Sankaracharya and the Vaishnavas both accept that the sentient living entities in this material world are completely distinct and separate from their gross, subtle material bodies. This is the first lesson in spiritual life, this distinction. That the jivas are spiritually existent and that liberation, mukti, entails giving up all connection with this material world. Consequently, there is a great deal of agreement between the doctrine of Sankar and that of the Vaishnava acharyas up to the point of liberation. Sankar has even taught the worship of Sri Hari is the method by which one can purify the heart and attain liberation. He has only remained silent regarding what extraordinary destination the jiva attains after liberation. Understand? After liberation is the point of Krishna consciousness. What is the realm of Goloka Vrindavan? What is the realm even of Vaikuntha, Dwarka, Mathura, Ayodhya? These very personal realms. Sankar knew perfectly well that if the jivas could be prompted to strive for liberation through the worship of Hari, they would gradually become attached to the pleasure of bhajan and thus become Shuddha Bhaktas, pure devotees. That is why he simply pointed out the path and didn't reveal further confidential secrets of Vaishnava Dharma. He just had a specific focus in mind. Those who have scrutinized the commentaries of Sankar can understand his inner intention, but those who are only preoccupied with the external aspect of his teachings remain far from the threshold of Vaishnava Dharma, and will consider Sankaracharya to be someone who was opposed to Vaishnava Dharma, but it's not the case. From one point of view, the perfected state of absolute oneness, Advaita Siddhi, this was his question, this was Sannyasi Thakur's question. Absolute oneness, Advaita Siddhi, seems identical to prema. This is the point we have to hear carefully. However, the narrow interpretation of absolute oneness is certainly different from the meaning of prema. So Sankaracharya was teaching absolute oneness, Advaitavad, but prema is two. What is prema? You should understand clearly that prema is the unadulterated function by which two transcendental entities are spontaneously attracted to each other. This is prema, Radha and Krishna. The affection between these two is what the Vaishnavas serve. This is our seva, is to serve this duality, we can say, this Shakti and Shaktiman. Prema cannot occur without the separate existence of two transcendental entities. There must be two, a subject and an object. For pure love, this love of liberation and mukti is a selfish love. In that place of the Brahman, there's only the Jivatma is there, having a relationship of Shantaras, very blissful, very wonderful, but it's in a void, there's no activity, there's no relationship. This is the state of pure Mayavad. They're not acknowledging Krishna. Krishna Prema is the dharma by which all transcendental entities are eternally attracted to the supreme transcendent entity, Sri Krishna Chandra. The ideology of Prema rests on the eternality established truths that Krishna Chandra and his own eternal separate existence, and that the jivas have their own eternal separate existence following his leadership. This is the point. Krishna has his separate existence to the living entity. This is what all the commentaries have been ultimately saying, but I'm just reading it from a different perspective, saying the same thing again, so we can catch it deeply. Following his leadership, Anugatya, and that this Prem Tattva is also an eternally perfect truth, Nitya Siddha Tattva, the distinct presence of three separate ingredients, the relisher, the object of relish, and the act of relishing, is a fact. So there are three, so it's two. It's dual, it's not singular, it's not Advaita. If the relisher of Prem and the object of relish are one and the same, then Prem cannot be an eternal reality. We can say that absolute oneness or Advaita Siddhi is the same as Prem if we define Advaita Siddhi as the pure state of a transcendental entity who has no relationship with insentient matter. If I'm not attached to matter, which is the goal of the Mayavadis, to become freed from matter in the form of liberation from their attraction to matter. But this doesn't signify a relationship with Krishna. It's still singular, it's still Advaita. It's very deep, but it's very beautiful to appreciate. This conception of Advaita Siddhi implies oneness in the sense that spiritual entities have become one in their spiritual nature and function, Chid Dharma. However, modern scholars who have adopted the doctrine of Sankara are not satisfied with this idea, and they have tried to establish that spiritual entities, Chidvastu, have themselves become indistinguishably one with the same substance. In so doing, they have disregarded the true Vedic conception of non-distinction and have propagated a distorted version in its place. Vaishnavas declare this philosophy to be opposed to the Vedas because it denies the eternality of Prem. So this carries on for a couple of pages, but I'll leave it there just to give you a taste from Jivadhamma of these same topics that you might find enlivening to read simultaneously with this Divine Chapter 7, which is establishing the same principle, that there must be a subject and an object, that Krishna has to be appreciated, and then the eternal identity of the jiva, he has to be identified also. and then the relationship between the two. So this will produce prem, which is distinct from Advaita Siddhi. So text 136. Did I? Text 136. Acharya kalpita arata iha sabajani sampradaya arurodi tabu taha amani. Translation. We know that all this word jugglery springs from the imagination of Sankaracharya, and yet because we belong to his sect, we accept it, although it does not satisfy us. It doesn't satisfy our deepest internal sentiments of wanting a relationship. Like I said previously, many people who have studied Buddhism, devotees today, they've gone into the Buddhist sect looking for this Shantaras, but they've been dissatisfied, and then they've come by the greatest fortune to this Krishna conscious movement, where they've heard about the divine qualities of the object of Krishna, and then they realize their relationship with Krishna, and just the realization of that relationship alone brings so much bliss and ananda with it. Text 137. Mukhyata vyakyara kare deki tomara bala Mukhyarta lagala prabhu sutra sakala. Translation. Now let us see, the Mayavadi sannyasis continued, how well you can describe the sutras in terms of their direct meanings. However, hearing this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his direct explanation of Vedanta Sutra. So this is the very heart of this chapter now. Text 138. Brihat vastu brahmakaye Shri Bhagavan Sad Vidhi Aishvara Purna Paratatvadam. Translation. Brahman, who is greater than the greatest, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is full in 6 opulences, and therefore he is the reservoir of ultimate truth and absolute knowledge. So he's not impersonal. This is the point. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the absolute truth is understood in 3 phases of realization: the impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma are expansions of the personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is complete in 6 opulences. As soon as we say 6 opulences and name them, this has to denote a personality. You can't refute this. Namely, wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Since he possesses his 6 opulences, the personality of Godhead is the ultimate truth in absolute knowledge. Text 139. Swarupa Aishwarya Tandra Nahi Maya Ganda Sakala Vedera Hoya Bhagavan Se Sambandha. Translation. In his original form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full with transcendental opulences, which are free from the contamination of the material world. It is to be understood that in all Vedic literature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal. This is so refreshing. Text 140. Tandar nirvishesha kahi chit shakti na mani adara swarupa na manila purnata hoim hani. Translation. When we speak of the Supreme as impersonal, we deny his spiritual potencies. Logically, if you accept half the truth, you cannot understand the whole. This is part of the reason I brought the Jaivedharma in, just to accept all Shastras. This is the final conclusion of all bona fide Shastra, what we're discussing here. In the Upanishads, it is said, Ampurnam atapurnam idam purnat purnam udachyate purnasya purnam adya purnam eva vashishyate. This verse, which is mentioned in the Isopanishad, Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad, and many other Upanishads, indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full in 6 opulences. His position is unique, for he possesses all riches, strength, influence, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Actually, his principal quality is beauty. This is the first quality. Beauty is the angi. From the beauty come the fame, opulence, and strength. These 3 very personal qualities. And the impersonal qualities of knowledge and renunciation, they are like the effulgence of fame. So they're not direct attributes, personal attributes, knowledge and renunciation. This is what the Brahmajyoti consists of, knowledge and renunciation. This is what the Mayavadi sannyasis are practicing. They're practicing gyan, knowledge, and they're practicing renunciation. So they're not appreciating the beauty, fame, strength of the Lord, these personal qualities. Brahman means the greatest, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is greater than the greatest, just as the sun globe is greater than the sunshine, which is all-pervading in the universe. Although the sunshine that spreads all over the universes appears very great to the less knowledgeable, greater than the sunshine is the sun itself, and greater than the sun is the sun God himself. Similarly, impersonal Brahman is not the greatest, although it appears to be so. Every time it's saying this impersonal Brahman, we might consider in our various sudden bhajans that we get some mystical revelations. But those mystical revelations aren't to be focused on as the goal. That's not the goal. Devotees will have so many mystical experiences, but it's not the goal to have these mystical experiences. That would be like a yogi seeking mystical opulences. The goal is to understand the Lord deeply so we feel inspired to directly render service to him. This is the goal, to render service to Krishna. When we're doing Govardhan Parikrama, how are we rendering service to Krishna? Are we just thinking, well, I've got so far to go, it's hot, my stomach is hungry, my feet are sore, I'm doing this because it's Ekadashi, and I'm looking for some mercy? What is the mercy that we're looking for? But if we're thinking this Giriraj is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord, let me render service to him. Let me think about his qualities and greatness. Let me think about the divine Lila, which when Krishna lifted Giriraj, we were able to see this Lila. Are we remembering that? Are we remembering the moods of the Brijbasis, their love for Krishna? Or are we just thinking about our own sadhana? Sometimes the devotees, they're more concerned with their sadhana bhajan than they are with the goal of the bhajan. They're more concerned with chanting their number of rounds than they are with the purpose of vibrating Krishna's holy name and singing his name, glorifying his name. So we have to be cautious about this. Sometimes we're more concerned with the services that I'm doing rather than the actual pleasure that it can bring Krishna. We're so much caught up in our own progress of self-realization. But in that practice of self-realization, we have to always appreciate the higher self, that Krishna is the soul within all entities, and to worship him. How can I be increasing my nishta to him? And through Guru, Hari and Sadhu, Guru, Vaishnavas and Hari, then daily we can come to know Krishna more and more, and his sublime beauty and his activities. Similarly, impersonal Brahman is not the greatest, although it appears to be so. Impersonal Brahman is only the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the transcendental form of the Lord is greater than both the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Therefore, whenever the word Brahman is used in the Vedic literature, it is understood to refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the impersonal Brahman. This is the point that Mahaprabhu is hammering with these Varanasi sannyasis. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is also addressed as Parabrahm. Mayavadis and others sometimes misunderstand Brahman because every living entity is also Brahman. Yes, we are also that Brahman. But the Mayavadis take it to the extreme of becoming like that Brahman, like Krishna. It's all so simple. I mean, it's so simple to refute, it's so simple to understand, but it's not so easy always to practice, because these truths are, or this desire to be the supreme enjoyer, is so much ingrained within us. Therefore, Krishna is referred to as Parabrahm, the supreme Brahman. In the Vedic literature, whenever the word Brahm or Parabrahm is used, they are to be understood to refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is their real meaning, since the entire Vedic literature deals with the subject of Brahman. Krishna is therefore the ultimate goal of Vedic understanding. The impersonal Brahmajyoti rests on the personal form of the Lord. Therefore, although the impersonal effulgence, the Brahmajyoti, is the first realization, one must enter into it, as mentioned in the Isopanishad, to find the Supreme Person, and then one's knowledge is perfect. But don't misunderstand this, that first we have to have Brahman realization. Don't ever think that. You'll be hijacked totally. And the wonderful example we've already described is Kumar. In his journey to Goloka Vrindavan, he goes through that liberated atmosphere, that liberated conception. And it's so wonderful. Of course it's wonderful. We become very peaceful, very shanti. But that's not our goal. So we quickly disregard that. Moksha lukhuta krit. This is the one of the symptoms of bhav bhakti. Moksha lukhuta krit means I look down with disdain on the achievement of mukti. Mukti is not my goal. You see, we're in a very suffering condition. The needle is pricking us, and we just want to get freed from the suffering. But if we can have the foresight that this suffering has only manifested due to my karmas is producing all the suffering. I simply just have to tolerate this suffering, understanding that I deserve all of this suffering completely and more due to my previous sinful activities of exploiting the material energy. And we tolerate. But the goal is not just to get freed from the material karmic suffering. That is Mayavad, just to get free from that. The goal is to serve the Lord. And the goal, ultimately, is not to serve the Lord so that I will become free. We can think like that, but this is not also pure. Therefore, although the impersonal effulgence, the Brahmajyoti, is the first realization, one must enter into it, as mentioned in the East Upanishad, to find the Supreme Person, and then one's knowledge is perfect. The Bhagavad Gita 7.19 also confirms this. Bahunam janmanam ante yanavam mam prapadyate. One's search for the absolute truth by dint of speculative knowledge is complete when one comes to the point of understanding Krishna and surrenders to him, or begins to surrender to him. That is the real point of perfectional knowledge. This is all a journey, so to speak. It's all a process. We are in process. Partial realization of the absolute truth as impersonal Brahman denies the complete opulences of the Lord. This is a hazardous understanding of the absolute. Hazardous because if you go in that direction, you can stay there. It can become very, very attractive. So attractive that you have no more desire, because na sochati na kanchati. This is how it's described. No lamentation, no more desire. So if I have no more desire, then why should I desire to go forward? I won't. I'll just remain in that equipoised, very satisfied state of mind. My state of mind, that peaceful state of mind. Unless one accepts all the features of the absolute truth, namely impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's knowledge is imperfect. Sri Ramanuja, in his Vedanti Sangraha, says, Janena dharmena surapam api nirupitam na tu jnana matram brahmati katam idam avagamyate. He thus indicates that the real identity of the absolute truth must be understood in terms of both his knowledge and his characteristics. Yes, not only knowledge. As I just said, knowledge and vairagya represent the Brahmajyoti. This is how it's clearly described. The Brahmajyoti does have qualities. Those qualities are knowledge and renunciation, but those qualities are impersonal. They're not personal attributes. Renunciation itself is a negative quality. Knowledge is an impersonal quality. You can find it in a library. But beauty, strength, opulence, fame, these are all so personal. The quality of fame, you must have someone who's famous. The quality of strength, you must have someone who's strong. The quality of opulence is describing someone who is opulence. And the quality of beauty is describing an object of beauty. These are all very personal. But the impersonal is knowledge and renunciation. He thus indicates that the real identity of the Absolute Truth must be understood in terms of both his knowledge and his characteristics. Simply to understand the Absolute Truth to be full of knowledge is not sufficient. It's impersonal. Is not sufficient. In the Vedic literature, Mundaka Upanishad 119, we find the statement, Ya Sarvagya Sarvavit, which means that the Absolute Truth knows everything perfectly. But we also learn from the Vedic description, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Suryate, that not only does he know everything, but he also acts accordingly by utilizing his different energies. Thus, to understand that Brahman, the Supreme, is conscious is not sufficient. Knowing that Brahman is not sufficient. One must know how he consciously acts through his different energies, his Swarup Shakti. Mayavad philosophy simply informs us of the consciousness of the Absolute Truth, but does not give us information of how he acts with his consciousness. That is the defect of that philosophy. Text 141. Bhagavan prapti hetu ye kari upaya shravanadi bhakti krishna praptira sahaya. Translation. It is only by devotional service, beginning with hearing, that one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the only means to approach him. Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tatvadaha. Only by devotional service can I be approached, saying the same thing. Purport. Mayavadi philosophers are satisfied simply to understand Brahman, to be the sum total of knowledge. But Vaishnava philosophers not only know in detail about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also know how to approach him directly. That is the Abhideya Tattva. The method for this is described by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as 9 kinds of devotional service, beginning with hearing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, 7.5.23. The 9 kinds of devotional service are hearing about Krishna, chanting about him, remembering him, offering service to his lotus. These are all very personal. Lotus feet, offering him worship in the temple, offering prayers to him, working as his servant, making friendships with him, and unreservedly surrendering unto him. How can you surrender unto an impersonal conception? You can't. There's no Sharanagat in the Mayavad school. Who are you surrendering to? You surrendering to yourself? Doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. But because the desire to be God was so pushing that they made it make sense, so to speak. One can directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by executing these 9 kinds of devotional service, of which hearing about the Lord is the most important, Shravanadi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very favorably stressed the importance of this process of hearing. According to his method, if people are simply given a chance to hear about Krishna, certainly they will gradually develop their dormant awareness or love of Godhead. Shravanadi Shuddhachita Korye Uday. This is from that verse we just quoted. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Satya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddhachita Korya Uday. Love of God is dormant in everyone, and if one is given a chance to hear about the Lord, certainly that love develops. Our Krishna consciousness movement acts on this principle. We simply give people the chance to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give them prasadam to eat, and the actual result is that all over the world people are responding to this process and becoming pure devotees of Lord Krishna. We have opened hundreds of centers all over the world just to give people in general a chance to hear about Krishna and accept Krishna's prasadam. The greatest service we can do for the Lord is to speak about the Lord publicly and to distribute prasadam particularly. This is Krishna's secret weapon. When someone takes prasadam that has directly come from the lotus lips of the Supreme Lord, there has to be some effect in the consciousness. It's a tremendous weapon in purifying the Mayavadis. These 2 processes can be accepted by anyone, even a child. It doesn't matter whether one is poor or rich, learned or foolish, black or white, old or still a child. Anyone who simply hears about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and takes prasadam is certainly elevated to the transcendental position of devotional service. Text 142. Se sarva vedara abhidaya nam sadan bhakti hoite hoye premara udgam. Translation: by practicing this regulated devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, certainly one awakens his dormant love of Godhead. This process is called abhidaya. So what the Mayavad does, they accept a spiritual master, and as soon as they consider that they have attained some height of liberation, they reject their spiritual master. Their spiritual master is no longer important to them. He's no longer a worshipable object. They reject, they throw it away. Whereas the devotee, he endlessly glorifies his spiritual master, knowing that his spiritual master is the one responsible, directly responsible for waking up this bhakti lata bij with the quality of Krishna Seva Vasana. This is what the spiritual master does. He inspires in the heart of his shishya the desire to serve Krishna. This is what he gives, this bhakti lata bij. And interestingly, this bhakti lata bij is a creeper. Creepers have to grow on a post or an object. So what is that pillar or post that this bhakti lata grows on? And that is humility. That bhakti lata will grow on with the strength of humility. Gurudev can give us so many strengths and understandings of Shastra and can empower us, sometimes just momentarily and sometimes continuously. But it's all coming from Guru. If I don't have the humility constantly to accept that, then I can't connect with, I haven't understood the dynamic of Guru. And when anyone considers their Guru, who is a bona fide Guru, that bona fide Guru is always glorifying his Guru and acknowledging that his Guru is the person who has given him everything. My Gurudev glorified Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj endlessly. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj glorified Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati endlessly. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati glorifies Srila Gokishore Das Babaji and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur glorifies Jagannath Das Babaji. All will glorify their gurus. It's not ever that now I've achieved a particular state of consciousness, I can reject gurus. No, it's all personal. The whole path is personal. By practicing this regulated devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, certainly one awakens his dormant love of Godhead. This process is called abhidaya. Abhidaya means the means. First of all, we understand sambandha. Sambandha is the connection of the relationship. And then what do we do once the relationship has been established? How are we going to move forward and advance? This is the abhidaya. By the practice of devotional service, this is the abhidaya. We have the Yata Mahanti Bhutani. This is the, actually that's the praying, but in the Chatushloki, the abhidaya actually comes in the last verse of the Chatushloki. Is etavad eva jignasyam. A person inquisitive about the truth of the self and the superself should make inquiries always and everywhere through both direct and indirect means of deliberation about that absolute truth. This is considered the abhidaya tattva. This is the fourth of the Chatushlokis. I'm saying all these things, bringing all these references, trying to collect the whole package, so to speak, so that we can get the whole impression of what is the nature of this path that we have taken up, this devotional service. So now we're discussing the abhidaya, which comes after the sambandha. By the practice of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting, the impure heart of a conditioned soul is purified, and thus he can understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What did Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada do? He first of all attracted all of those people initially by his own beauty, by his own qualities. He made them very much appreciate him as a personality. And then he gave them the method, the service. What was the simple method and the service at the time? Distribute my books. He gave them this regularly and perform Harinam Sankirtan. Do these two activities. He didn't tell them to chant 64 rounds. He didn't tell them to chant 2 lakh rounds. He didn't tell them this particular. He told them, you can chant 16 rounds is enough. I want to see your service attitude develop. This is the abhidaya. Distribute my books. There must be service. There must be that methodology. These conceptions must come out of the mental quantum into the real. They must be acted upon to be realized. They must be real to be realized. Otherwise, they're not being real. And thus, he can understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That eternal relationship is described by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivara Swaruphoy Krishnera Nityadas. The living entity is an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's our identity. When one is convinced about his relationship, sambandha, which is called sambandha, he then acts accordingly. That is called abhidaya. That's the action after the realization of the relationship. The next step is prayojan siddhi, or fulfillment of the ultimate goal of one's life. If one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and act accordingly, automatically his mission in life is fulfilled. The Mayavadi philosophers miss even the first stage of self-realization because they have no conception of God's being personal. He is the master of all, and he is the only person who can accept the service of all living entities. But since this knowledge is lacking in Mayavad philosophy, Mayavadis do not have knowledge even of their relationship with God. Even that sambandha is not established. Mayavadis do not have knowledge even of their relationship with God. They wrongly think that everyone is God, or that everyone is equal to God, or everyone has the supreme spark of Godhead within them, and this is true, but it doesn't mean that we are that supreme God. It means we have his spark. It's such a subtle point that if you have the desire to exploit the material energy for your own satisfaction, you're going to adhere, you're going to follow this train of thought. You're going to want to take that position of God. This was the attraction when we were in the Brahmajyoti originally to coming to this world. It was only for this reason, to be like God. But the Mayavadis even miss this point about the Sambandha. Mayavadis do not have knowledge even of their relationship with God. They wrongly think that everyone is God, or that everyone is equal to God. Therefore, since the real position of the living entity is not clear to them, how can they advance further? Although they are very much puffed up at being liberated, Mayavadi philosophers very shortly fall down again to material activities due to their neglecting the lotus feet of the Lord. That is called Patanti Adya. Ye Navrindaksha Vimukta Maninas Tvaye Ashta Bavad Avishuddha Buddhaya Uruhya Krichrena Param Padam Tata Patyanti Adyo Nidrita Yusmat Angraha. Here it is said that persons who think themselves liberated but do not execute devotional service, not knowing their relationship with the Lord, are certainly misled. One must know his relationship with the Lord and act accordingly. Then the fulfillment of his life's mission will be possible. So the Mayavadis are like, I remember one Mayavadi called Muktananda. Muktananda means the bliss of liberation. His name, he was a yogi, Muktananda. He was a very powerful yogi. And in his meditation, in his samadhi, he saw a blue light. The book is called Blue Pearl by Muktananda Swami. And he sees inside that blue pearl a little blue boy, a child, and he thinks, oh, that must be me. So no relationship, no sambandha, no abhideya, no active service, and no understanding of prayojan. How tragic are the consciousnesses of the Mayavadis. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is so compassionate in wanting to bring the Mayavadis into his embrace of purifying them. Text 143. Krishnera charana hoy yadi anurag, Krishna venu anyatra tara nahi rahe rag. Translation. If one develops his love for God, of Godhead, and becomes attached to the lotus feet of Krishna, gradually he loses his attachment to everything else, including liberation. This is the test of advancement, purport, in devotional service. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.42, Bhaktiya pranashev anubhavo viraktiya anyatra cha. In bhakti, a devotee's only attachment is Krishna. He no longer wants to maintain his attachment to many other things. Although Mayavadi philosophers are supposed to be very much advanced on the path of liberation, we see that after some time they descend to politics and philanthropic activities. Many big sannyasis who were supposedly liberated and very advanced have come down again to materialistic activities, although they left this world of mithya. Although they left this world as mithya, false. They're considering this world as being false. But still, after that consideration that the world is false, they come in and they make hospitals, they do so much philanthropic work. This is in the case of many, like there's one wonderful personality, her name is Amma. She's a very wonderful personality, but still, she's opening hospitals, looking after so many, giving shelter. But the actual philosophy of Krishna consciousness is not really, very often she dresses herself like Krishna. So it's a distorted view. Ultimately, it's Mayavad. When a devotee develops in devotional service, however, he no longer has attachments to such philanthropic activities. He is simply inspired to serve the Lord, and he engages his entire life in such service. His entire life. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Ramaraj just say, die to live. This material, false ego has to die. This is the difference between Vaishnava and Mayavadi philosophers. Devotional service, therefore, is practical, whereas Mayavad philosophy is merely mental speculation. Mental speculation, at the end of the day, is the Mayavadi philosophy. So these are very clear, very instructive, very wonderful teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So tomorrow we'll continue from verse 144. So Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai. These may not be prominently in our minds, these teachings, but we should know them. We should have them in the reservoir of our intellect, so to speak, whenever they have to be brought out. And in different circumstances, we should be hearing these truths carefully and collecting them, keeping them there for a time when they're needed in so many different types of applications where the devotees will need these teachings. It may not be, more than likely it won't be directly to Mayavadi sannyasis, but it might be directed even to the Mayavad within myself. So these teachings are applicable in that sense also. So Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Go Premanande. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gau Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Sri Raghunandan Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Vamsidas Babaji Ki Jai, Tirubal Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva Cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.